You know how sometimes justice doesn't come in courtrooms or with grand speeches, but in little quiet moments, the kind that no one else sees, but you see it, and you carry it with you like a little souvenir from a trip you didn't plan. This happened just a few days ago. A regular afternoon, sun a bit too hot, but not unbearable. I had a grocery list in one hand and my phone in the other, scrolling between it and a mental list of meals for the week. The store wasn't packed, but there was a definite buzz, the way it gets when everyone's picking up last-minute weekend stuff. I ended up at the checkout area and chose a standard lane. Not the express, not the priority, just a regular one. Right beside mine was a priority lane marked with big, bold signs for senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and pregnant women. Clear as day. The kind of sign you only miss if you're deliberately choosing not to look. I glance over, and sure enough, a few elderly people are sitting in those plastic chairs stores sometimes provide. You know the kind. Stackable, white, slightly wobbly. They were holding on to their carts, just waiting for their turn. Quiet, calm, patient. There was no confusion about what was happening. Everyone knew they were next. And then enter this guy. Late 30s maybe. Clean cut. Designer shades resting on top of his head indoors like some sort of badge of self-importance. Cart full of supplies. He walks. No. Saunters. Right up to the counter and cuts straight in front of the seated seniors. No glance. No pause. Just pure entitlement. I blinked. Thought maybe I missed something. Maybe he was with them? But no. His cart was different. His attitude even more so. So I say something. Just simple. Hey, they're already in line. Not aggressive. Not rude. Just a reminder. And this guy, he doesn't even turn around. He just waves one hand behind him lazily and says, I don't see them standing in line though. Real smug. Real dismissive. You could feel the air change a little. Like everyone heard it. But no one wanted to stir the pot. The seniors looked embarrassed. Almost. Like they were used to this kind of thing. Like they had learned that speaking up just made things harder. I caught the eye of one elderly man, maybe late 70s, wearing a light blue cap and a tattered vest. He just gave a small shrug, as if to say, let it go. So I did, on the outside. But inside, I simmered. I stayed in my lane, watched the cashier deal with him first, watched him talk loudly on his phone, totally unbothered by what just happened. Then, as he began unloading his cart, I took note of what he had. And that's when I noticed it. Camping gear. He had a portable gas stove, marshmallows, paper plates, packs of hot dogs, baked beans, a rolled-up sleeping bag, disposable utensils, instant noodles, even a tin coffee pot, and one single can of butane gas. One. And in that second, something clicked in my head. A quiet little bell. A soft ding of opportunity. He was distracted, yammering on his phone. Back turned, gesturing wildly as if his conversation needed to occupy an entire zip code. So I leaned over just a little, smooth, casual, as if I was adjusting my cart, scratching my back, whatever, and I took that single can of butane, slid it into my cart like it had always been there. He didn't notice, not even a pause in a sentence. Didn't look down, didn't count. He finished unloading, paid for his items, and walked out without a clue. I stood there in my lane, quiet, heart beating a little fast, like I had just committed some master heist. But no one saw. The seniors were busy. The cashier barely looked up. I paid for my stuff, including his can of butane, and walked out. And let me tell you something, that walk out of the grocery store felt like I was floating, not because I had done something huge or loud or viral, but because I had struck back, not with words, not with confrontation, but with consequence. Somewhere out there, this guy arrived at a campsite, maybe with friends, maybe on his own, probably talking big about how efficient he was, how fast he got everything done. Maybe he bragged about skipping the line too, like it was some kind of achievement. And then he tried to cook. No gas, no flame, no hot food, no coffee, just crunchy noodles, a bunch of cold beans, and the slow realization that something was missing. Maybe he retraced his steps in his head. Maybe he swore he grabbed the can. Maybe he blamed the store for forgetting to pack it. Maybe, just maybe, he looked around and thought about that moment at the counter, about the seniors, about me, about the moment when he thought no one would push back. I hope he sat there, shivering under the stars with a half-inflated sleeping mat and a lukewarm bottle of soda, wondering how something so small could mess up everything. And that's the thing about people like him. They get away with so much because most of us are taught not to make waves, not to speak up, to let things go, be the bigger person. But sometimes the smallest acts have the sharpest sting. I didn't yell. I didn't shame. I didn't escalate. I just made sure that for once, someone like him felt the ripple of his actions, not from a grand lecture, just from one missing piece, one can of butane. It wasn't much, but in that moment, it was everything. Justice doesn't always show up with flashing lights and dramatic music. Sometimes, it walks out a grocery store with a quiet smile, a slightly heavier cart, and the knowledge that somewhere out there, karma is being served cold. And this time, it was delicious.